Welcome to CHURCHepreneurs Podcast. My name is Richard Moore. I'm your host and informant for everything church theology and faith related. CHURCHepreneurs' vision is to accelerate the church in mission, vision, and effectiveness in fulfilling the Great Commission in our communities in this generation. CHURCHepreneurs hopes to embolden you to fulfill the Great Commission beyond your own borders into the rest of the world in this generation. In this podcast, I talk about everything that's moving me in relation to church, theology, and hopefully to empower you in your ministry, church, Bible study, theological understanding, and most importantly, your personal growth in Christ. Today, we've got an awesome treat. I'm trying to get more into interviewing people, and I interview just my best friends. I like the people I interview. And so today we're interviewing, I've got with me as a special guest, Andy Fronius. Andy, I met Andy, I think actually via the interwebs before we were even in Germany. Coming to Germany, people said, hey, you want to do youth ministry? You got to reach out to Andy. And so I reached out to Andy on Facebook, I believe, and we just struck up a quick friendship right away. Andy has been in youth ministry for quite a long time. We got to know each other, like I said, via the interwebs and then in person when I moved to Germany. And we became right away youth ministry colleagues, friends, and just really like the guy. And so welcome, Andy, to CHURCHepreneurs. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Richard, for having me. What a treat. Actually, I feel honored to be on your podcast. It's actually the first podcast I'm on in my life. Wow.
No, come on. All right. Now we feel really honored.
I've been in Instagram interviews or, but podcast, I think this is it. This is the first time. This is the first one. Thank you.
Yes. So we're doing the video thing. So if you can't see us, sorry. You can listen, but you can also see us. We got a lot of cool setups here, and Andy's hopefully going to show us. He's got some props, maybe. I don't know. This is going to be exciting. We're just going to try it all. We'll figure it out, right? Right, the tour. So if you can see Andy, he's actually in his studio. So let me give a little background. Like I said, we got to know Andy via youth ministry. He was here so we're in the south of Germany. I'm in the south of Germany. Andy, we got to know each other when he was in Basel doing youth ministry with Young Life. So years there. How long were you there, Andy, with Young Life?
I worked with Young Life for 7 years.
Okay, and all that in the Basel area. Am I right about that?
All that, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So exactly. Basel. Yeah, exactly. So Andy's German, but also worked in Basel, like I said, with the Swiss and all the international community there. There's a ton of international kids there. Youth ministry was his calling, and so yeah, that was where we got to know each other. That setting there, and then God called him to adopt 4 kids. So we got a lot to talk about today. Adopt not only 4 kids, but 4 Romanian gypsy kids, if I understand that correctly. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong in that. Andy.
That's right. So, no, you're right on point.
Right, man. Sweet. So we'll get into all that today. But the reason I called Andy on is if there is a churchpreneur in this world, he's it. Just with social media, with young people, reaching young people, using technology, and we'll hear from them today on all the camera stuff, all the video, multimedia, the whole 9 yards. He does it, and actually does it in a way that's really relational. So it's going to be exciting. He also, in that time, when he moved to Romania to adopt his kids, he founded a youth ministry empowerment. Let's call it a youth ministry empowerer, like for youth guys. Yeah, he's like, well, okay. No, really, I think it's a ministry that empowers youth ministers called Mr. Jugendarbeit, and that word Jugendarbeit means just youth worker. So it's a German ministry to the German-speaking world, and so we'll get into all that. He'll explain all that to us today. So Welcome, Andy. Thanks for taking the time with us. So
thanks for having me.
Yeah. So here
really
we go.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Looking forward to this. So first of all, you adopted 4 Romanian kids. Tell us how that came about. Just quickly share with us how that happened.
Anna and I, we married young. I was 19 at our wedding. She was 20. And about a year into our marriage, we were like, oh yeah, we want to have kids, but we couldn't. And years went by, we prayed about it, nothing happened. Then we realized maybe God wants us to adopt children. We looked at all the various methods like in vitro and whatever was on the market, and realized that there are so many kids out there who need parents, who will never ever have parents. Why go through this expensive and complicated, maybe even ethically questionable way? I mean, many people are doing that, and it was definitely an option for us too. But we said we feel called to be there for kids who do not have parents. And we applied to foster and to adopt, and we were put through a course in the Black Forest, and we were on a waiting list. But then we moved to Switzerland to do ministry there. And the moment we moved, in the same month, we got a call from Romania. In Romania, they knew that we were willing to adopt, and there's this women's shelter that my mom started. It's this huge organization, one of the first women's shelters in the country, and they have very good relationships with authorities. And they're like, why don't you guys move over here and foster them and then adopt them?
And your wife's Romanian too, so that's right. That's a sort of your in there, right? I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, let's move to Romania.
It was even more than that. It's kind of as if God had prepared us all our lives. I was born in Romania, in the same town we're living in right now, where we're adopting.
Yeah.
We would not be able to adopt or to foster in Romania if we were not citizens, because Romania stopped doing international adoptions many years ago because of human trafficking. And so they locked the country down for adoptions, which created a whole new problem, because now all these kids are in orphanages. And there's just money being pumped into that, but it's a whole nother problem. So we moved to Romania. Anna and I, we prayed about it. We got that call in April 2017. So 3 years ago, April. And we prayed about it for 2 to 3 months because it's a huge decision to adopt a child, but then 4 siblings at once.
I remember when you mentioned it to me, you said, hey, Richard, I think God's calling us to adopt 4 kids. I'm like, all right, man, I will pray about that for sure. Yeah, that was exciting though.
Yeah, we're so ready and to be used by God and to serve him. And after 3 months, we made the decision. Anna packed a suitcase of her most important belongings and moved to Romania. And she has not been back only for a visit or 2 since then. But
back to Germany. Back to Germany
or Switzerland, just for visit friends, because we dissolved our apartment, we dissolved everything we had, and moved. And I was going back and forth between the countries for a little over a year and a half, and it was definitely a decision that was crazy, because we thought it will take at a minimum 6 months, but at a maximum 18 years, because we've heard of families that fostered to adopt, but then the adoption wouldn't go through, and they had to remain in country without the permission to leave the country with the foster kids until they were 18. So we knew that anything is possible, and we went to Romania knowing that could happen. Now we're 3 years into the process, and they told us that the adoption will be this September. So exactly 3 years and 1 month after Anna moved.
You'll be able to, that's crazy. So, I mean, that's like a huge waiting process for you. I mean, you expressed to me years ago a real deep calling to this. So how has that calling maybe sustained you in this waiting time? You're like in a holding pattern, basically, or tell us about that.
My favorite Bible verse is actually a chapter. It's chapter 58 of Isaiah. And that is so deeply rooted within me, where I'm like, that's exactly what I think God wants from me personally. That's my calling. He talks about the true fasting that he expects from his followers. And as I was growing up, I realized, usually during worship times on Sunday mornings in a service, that God wants more from me than just worship him with my lips or with my hands by lifting them up. There is my wallet, and he wants me to worship him with my wallet. There is my energy, my time, and then even go beyond that and sacrificing my comfort to do what he wants from me, which is to imitate him. And that was the DNA package that led to us then trying to imitate God in a way where we are like, he adopted us, now he calls us to adopt others. And that is expensive, and that does cost comfort, and it is painful. And what I've learned is how God must feel like raising us or parenting us or leading us. It's incredibly hard to love, but it is also how he loves us, which is, it's amazing. So that's incredible. That prepared us for the adoption. And now 3 years into it, I don't even know what we did before. Like it's all a blur, and life has. It's like
life has changed, like truly changed, and now you're like, how did we live before with it? Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also, regarding youth ministry, yesterday I told Anna, like, I would do youth ministry so differently, knowing what I know now about parenting.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Starting with lock-ins and sugar, like I wouldn't feed him sugar anymore.
Yeah, don't do lock-ins anymore. Like, I don't know what are youth pastors thinking? Don't do lock-ins.
Yeah.
You got to go home to your family, right? And you need 8 hours of sleep for that. Anyway, sorry.
On the other hand, the funniest stories are from lock-ins, right? So what stories are you going to tell?
The best stuff comes from lock-ins, actually. You're right. No question.
Right. So legendary.
The legendary lock-ins, right? So okay, so you've got 4 kids now. You're living in Romania, and then God calls you to sort of take your knowledge in youth ministry. You backed away from Young Life. You said like, hey, I'm not gonna just let this holding pattern like kind of stop me. And so all of a sudden I hear from you, you're doing this Mr. Jugendarbeit thing, and I'm like, whoa, that's Andy. That's gold for Andy. So tell us about as well how that came about.
Yeah, we loved our time with Young Life, and we're so grateful for everything we've learned within Young Life. And in many ways, what we are doing today is an extension of or an innovation of what we did in Young Life. The relational aspect, the incarnational way of doing ministry. And I wanted to take all the best learnings of what we learned in Young Life and inspire German youth workers. In Young Life, my boss often said this one thing. He said, Young Life is just a vehicle, a mode of transportation for the gospel. And one day you will get out of this vehicle and you will find another vehicle. The main thing is that you continue, driving for the cause in a way. And so the mission statement of our new organization, Mr. Jugendarbeit, is to help introduce adolescents to Christ and help them grow in their faith, which is, by the way, introducing adolescents to Christ and helping them grow in their faith is Young Life's mission statement. But what I did is I added one thing to it, which is we do that by training their leaders, which would be parents and teachers and youth workers. So I'm no longer doing direct ministry, but I'm equipping anyone who wants to be equipped by giving them the best articles, the best materials, the best downloads. And what I did is I used the connections that I had in the States to youth ministry organizations. I told them about this idea that what if we start something that would pool the best resources we have in the world and provide them to German youth workers, either for free or at a very affordable price point. And Mr. Jugendarbeit turned into what is very similar to the Netflix of youth ministry resources. So people youth workers can go to the website and find all kinds of resources, guides, and even faith courses that will help them spend less time on preparation and focus more on relationships.
That's it, man. I mean, that's what really struck me, what was so beneficial and helpful for youth guys. I spent so much time just preparing stuff, and I wanted to, me personally, I wanted to prepare my talk, my weekly talk right? And have that be mine. But the rest of the stuff, I could have really used you years ago. I really could have used your ministry years ago, just to have resources and say, okay, a whole curriculum for small groups is just right there available. I could have really used that years ago.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe for our listeners who are in youth ministry, you guys probably know there is Download Youth Ministry, there is Stuff You Can Use, there's Project YM, there are all these amazing websites in the States. In Germany, there is none. Nothing like it. In the UK, you have Youthscape, you have Urban Saints, they create the Energize curriculum, and then you have Josiah Venture more to the east. You have all these major organizations that produce the best resources in the world. But then Germany, 30 years, nothing. Like, what happened? Why? And I felt this calling, so I have to do this because I'm made for this. The fusion or creating a hybrid between like typical youth ministry and digital, bringing it all to the people.
So you have curriculum, but you also have this digital platform. Like for me, I used one of your games in a Zoom camp that we had in our organization. That was really awesome, by the way. Kids loved it. You should have seen them darting. It was a Schnitzeljagd. What's Schnitzeljagd?
Quarantine scavenger hunt.
A scavenger hunt. A quarantine scavenger hunt. And the kids, as soon as I put the thing up on the screen, so we're in a Zoom call with our campers, and the campers would just dart to go try and find a remote control or some leftover food or something. It was really toilet paper, very important during the quarantine was toilet paper. Yeah. So, it was just really exciting. So that was a PowerPoint presentation. You have videos, you're now getting into TikTok, so you have curriculum, you have a newsletter for parents. One of the things that really encouraged me, what you were saying a little while ago, is that some parents are responding and getting back to you and saying, wow, this is so helpful to understand my young person, to maybe even get the parents to be involved in their church's youth ministry. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So all the things that we do, they have a proof of concept somewhere. So I did not invent those things. I'm just copying them. I'm looking at what's the best in the world and bring it to Germany. And when I think about the newsletter and in general about our ministry, I see two cases where I'm thinking about, imagine this. There is a teenage girl. She just turned 13. She comes back home from school, sits at the lunch table with her parents and says, Mom, Dad, I no longer believe in God. I believe only in science. Now you are at the point in a conversation that parents can feel, right? This is possible. This is happening to many parents.
Yeah, this is real. Yeah.
Now, what are you going to say as a mother or a father? What are you going to do to continue building bridges, to also continue introducing Christ to them without, pushing them away, scaring them away, or freezing the relationship and then not talking to them for months? What are you going to do? So here is where the information comes in that we send out on a weekly basis. We try to inform parents about what is going on in teenagers' hearts and minds, what trends are in the culture, but then also how they can address those issues with conversation starters. Like, here are 5 questions. Ask your kid about this. Or, for example, when there is a new game console introduced, should you talk to your daughter or son about this? Maybe not at this point. Wait until you know the price point, or wait until you know this, then ask those questions. So we tell parents, we guide parents. That's it, in a way, and also youth workers. So another scenario that I'm thinking about is Eastern Germany. Imagine there is a youth worker being hired on a mini job basis or for free as a volunteer. So we're talking that person gets $450 a month to do youth ministry or nothing. He is in a part of Germany where racism and nationalism is running rampant.
Really huge
and where
now.
It's super hard to find volunteers. Super hard. And now that youth pastor, or he or she, is challenged with, how do I find volunteers? What am I going to do this weekend with my kids? Youth groups usually meet on Fridays in Germany, not on Wednesdays or on Sundays like in the States.
Wait a minute. So what am you mean they don't have a midweek program? midweek program
Culture is different.
It's wild. Midweek program is like sometimes like the
Holy Grail.
That holy grail of youth ministry. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So now you have this youth worker, and he is underpaid. All the educated people are leaving to Western Germany, which we're United Germany, but they're still moving down to Bavaria or to Baden-Württemberg, the states in the south that have the money, or to Switzerland, or just away. So you are, I guess, it would feel like a youth ministry in a flyover state that is not Texas. You know what I mean?
not the Bible Belt. Yeah.
Not the Bible Belt. It was like you're lost, kind of alone. So
it's the dark side of the moon spiritually, really. Yeah. East Germany is still had that atheistic. I mean, it's a Christian nation with a secular world with a Christian residue. You feel it somewhere. You sense it. There's big Kirchenturm everywhere. There's big church towers everywhere, but it's like a dark side of the moon spiritually. In
a way, you can pinpoint it back to communism and say that's the price for communism. Generations to follow, huge problems. Yeah. And we have the same here in Romania. Same problem with communism. People don't trust each other, and it's very difficult to build bridges of love, and authentic relationships are very difficult. Yeah. To make, especially for Romania. I mean, Eastern Germany is different. People there are real in Germany, much more real than. It's easier to be real in Germany than to be real in Romania. Interesting. So, but kids are playing. Whatever. But kids are playing video games. They're playing Call of Duty. They're watching TikTok videos. They've got internet access in the hand everywhere they go, and so you're trying to leverage those places where kids gather. Tell us about that a little bit. Yeah. So what we do is, first of all, we try to equip parents and youth workers by providing them with information. And now I just started recently to apply all that knowledge that we're sending out to youth workers myself, because I learned from people like Brady Shearer, who has pro-church tools, that if churches and youth ministries would have used their time and energy, especially their advertising budget on Facebook and Instagram, not to advertise events, but rather to proclaim the gospel, wow, the world would be different right now. And they would have been ready for what came with the crisis. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I want to help create little pieces of salt and light, an aroma for Christ in a way on TikTok, because I mean, especially TikTok, you have statistics where you say 4 to 12-year-olds spend about 80 minutes a day on that platform. And you're like, wait, how many are that? We have to look it up, but there are. I mean, here's a story, and this story is 1 year old and speaks to how relevant it is. About a year ago, I asked our youth here in Romania, we also have a local youth ministry, who of your classmates uses TikTok? And they looked at me, it's like, everyone. Maybe there's one person who doesn't have a phone, but everyone uses it. 8th grade. We're talking 8th grade last year in Romania. Everyone uses TikTok. It was like a irrelevant question. Like, why did you even ask that? Like, everybody does. Yeah. There's not a single person here. There's the guy over there didn't have a phone, but everybody has it. Yeah. Yeah. So, and yesterday we polled our youth workers on our Instagram account, who are your favorite TikTokers that you're following? Now, 90% of the responses were, I don't use TikTok. 90% of the youth workers who responded are not on TikTok. Wow. While 1 year ago, 99% of 8th grade students in Romania were on TikTok. You can see the discrepancy here. And it's like, we need to be on TikTok if we want to do a youth ministry. And we help equip parents and youth workers how to navigate TikTok and how to also introduce adolescents to Christ on TikTok. Right. And help them grow in their faith on TikTok. Yeah, with like a minute. And I'm so grateful for. With a minute and a half, it's tough, right? Like, how do you introduce someone? Yeah, what I've seen from y'all is just like there's just a little bit like let's just introduce people to Jesus, and see like, hey, what kind of interest could that produce? It's really a really creative way y'all have done it so far. So, compliment there. Thanks. Actually, we have role models, and two of the best TikTok content creators that we know of at the moment are Alex Dion Wilson. Definitely should check him out. He does the TikTok live church, and I just started talking to him. We're partnering in a way where I'm copying all of his videos, translating them into German, and because those are the best church mini sermons for TikTok. And then there's Liv Breadstick, for example.
Okay.
Funny name. Both on TikTok, both over 1 million followers. Both very good, best practice examples for youth workers.
What would you encourage a youth worker? So there it is. Youth workers ought to be on TikTok. How do you navigate this platform? I was just flipping through the other day and I'm like, whoa, there is so much garbage out here. Literally, blasting people, making fun of people, making fun of sexuality. It's flagrant in a lot of ways. Besides the guy jumping off of a roof, landing in water. So, there's a lot of stuff like that up there. But how do you help a youth worker navigate that platform, not get sucked into this whole thing where 2 hours later, oh look, I just wasted 2 hours of my life, or something like that. How do you encourage a youth worker in that?
Yeah, I guess the first thing would be to realize that TikTok is something entirely different from Instagram.
Yeah.
On Instagram, you get polished, smooth, perfect, candid pictures and videos.
Yeah.
TikTok is raw and real, and it's meant to be like that. So on TikTok, you will find people that might be overweight or have missing limbs or are queer. The platform is much easier for them to just be themselves.
Okay.
And that is the beauty of TikTok. You can be yourself or who you feel you're from the inside. Okay. So, and this is very attractive to young people because they're like, okay, those people, they're silly, they're funny, and they're different. I like that. I mean, kids laugh. My kids, when they see stupid, silly humor on a cartoon, they're like, oh, this is funny. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. Okay, now stupid works on TikTok.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Stupid works. All right, cool. Yeah.
Another thing to know about TikTok is that TikTok is evolving. In the beginning, it was very music-based. Yeah. Many content creators were looking at songs first and thinking like, how could I create something entertaining based on this song?
Yeah.
And then it turned into a platform that helped the music industry discover new musicians, new artists.
Right.
Today, I see a push towards how-to tutorials, for example. When you would go to YouTube in the past to look up like, how do I do a great Instagram story? You can do it now on TikTok.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is, while on YouTube, the average ideal video would be between 4 and 8 minutes. On TikTok, you have a 1 minute cap.
Yeah.
It's got it. 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Ideally 15 seconds. So TikTok is fast and TikTok is entertaining. TikTok is raw and real. I guess if you want to start on TikTok as a youth minister, you'd have to ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish with my presence here?
Don't just jump in. Right.
Yeah. I think saying like, this is an account that advertises our events, you're out. Don't start it.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
If
be purposeful.
Yeah. If this is an account where you create bits that are entertaining, let's say 90% entertaining and maybe 10% information, so infotainment, something like that, then you are there. You just be yourself. You don't represent your ministry necessarily. You just represent your funny, entertaining, real, raw.
So stay away from branded type things, especially event-driven stuff. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I would say in general, that is true for every social media platform.
Yeah. So thanks for that. I think you dipped into a little bit of trends. We'll get to that a little bit later, but you also wanted to talk about this Grow curriculum. Tell us about that. You started a partnership with Grow Curriculum in America, and now you're trying to translate. I'm sorry I couldn't help you with that. I have so many projects at the moment. I would love to help you translate it. But anyways, you're trying to translate their curriculum into German for Mr. Jugendarbeit. Tell us about that. How'd that come about?
Yeah. Grow is part of Stuff You Can Use, and Stuff You Can Use is this amazing ministry in the States. They have a Facebook group of, I think, 25,000 youth workers. And Kenny and Elle that are behind the Grow curriculum, they worked for Orange in the past, and about 3-4 years ago, they started this ministry where they contacted about 100 youth pastors around the world and said, let's create the best youth ministry curriculum to serve church, because we love the church and we want to help youth workers by providing them with all the materials they need so they can focus on the relationships. They did that, and about 6 months ago, I reached out to Kenny and told him, hey, over here in Germany, we have nothing and we'd love to translate your materials. And he's like, yeah, sure, we love the church and we would like to give. And it was it was one of the easiest conversations. It was like, he's like, yeah, sure, here, have it. And so we started building a team, put together a translation team, we use professional software, and we're working on the translation of the Grow curriculum, which is massive.
I believe that. So is that like a year curriculum? What does that look like when you have it in your hand then?
Yeah, when you in the States, if you were to buy it there now, it would contain sermon series for basically every Sunday of the year. It would contain games for every week. It would contain social media graphics for Instagram, for Facebook, for stories. It would contain bumper videos for your sermon series. It would contain a planning kit that would help you outline plan the entire year, which topic, which focus. It would contain events that you would do with parents, events that you would do with volunteers. It contains copy, a pre-written copy that you can send out to your volunteers, like, hey, this month, guys, we will be talking about this. Here's how you can prepare. Here's how you can pray. Also copy that you can copy and paste into the newsletter that goes to parents. It contains copy for direct messages. So basically, anyone could run a youth ministry that loves Jesus and loves kids just by picking that up and just going for it.
Wow. So this you're trying to translate all that material at the moment.
What we're doing is we're starting small, and we're looking at what German youth workers really need, because the culture is very different.
Yeah.
We don't have we didn't have youth pastor celebrity culture, so we did not have that. That whole phase in youth ministry development, which means we never had youth pastors who sold their sermons for $50 and their games for $25. And we
youth
also did not
celebrities. Oh man.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
It is. It's a whole thing. You're right. There's no question. Yeah.
And then we also didn't have the revolution of that whole industry where they're like, okay, here are cheap websites, subscription-based websites where you can get everything for like $10 or $15. We did not have that. And so we jumped over all of that. Now we're starting at, we don't even know if youth workers in Germany, in Austria and Switzerland are willing to purchase something that is not created by them. And so we're telling them, we give you something, but we don't give you everything. So you can still innovate and create, so they can feel good about themselves that they're innovative and creating.
Well, that was for me too in youth ministry. I wanted something that I could innovate a little bit, use a little bit, and say, this is really great in this setting, and apply it in different scenarios. Like our camps every year. It was when I was a youth pastor. We went to one of the biggest, best camps in the United States called Hume Lake, but their program was basically done and packaged, and everything was there. What the good was about that was I could go and just kind of be a youth pastor and just be there and build relations with my kids. But I didn't have any say in any of the curriculum of the entire week. And so that was, I wanted to have a little bit of control over the stuff too. But that's interesting. It's a tough balance. What do youth pastors really want? What can they really use? But it seems like you're trying to really get a balance here between both.
What we're trying to do is we're giving them everything. We're giving them, for example, for a sermon series, those are the ones that we're translating first. We're giving them the small group questions separately if they just want to have conversational style meetings. And if they want to preach, we are giving them the sermon guides and or a mix of both, so they can preach a bit and then ask small group questions. Yep.
All right. Okay.
They have everything in there.
And then you'll charge a few bucks for that per month, or is that within the Mr. Jugendarbeit package altogether? What's that about?
Yeah, we have been trying to figure out what the best business model is, because we started out raising donations like individuals, and we're still dependent. 99% of where the money comes from is donations from people in the States, in Germany, and in Switzerland that are saying like, we want to help you guys inspire youth workers so they can reach kids better.
Yeah.
And to build a sustainable model, we created the All Access Pass, which is $9.99 fee a month, where youth workers can basically download everything at once that we offer. Yeah. And because we continually upload basically every week a new game and once a month a new sermon series, it is worth it to stay subscribed. We might have to create something like a seasonal calendar where we're saying like this month there will be new products coming on, and then the next month old products will fade away. So there's a last chance to, we're figuring that out.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this Grow curriculum is a thing, but you also wanted to spend some time. I hope I don't exactly know my listenership, honestly, but I hope a few youth pastors are listening. I hope a few pastors are listening. That's who I do this show for. And so tell us about what you're seeing right now in youth trends. You touched on it a little bit with your little analysis of TikTok there. But what do you see as the most exciting trends in youth culture and youth ministry? And maybe also touch on if you see it in church ministry as well. What are some exciting things you're seeing?
What I have noticed, I think that would be one of the major takeaways from last year, is that this current generation values the environment like no other generation before them. And this is a huge opportunity for youth ministries if you choose to address the environment and climate change. Because what studies show us is that if you want to reach youth that are outside of the church and you are silent about these topics, it's very likely that they will shy away from you because you're A, not relevant, and B, you don't seem to care about what they care about. Does this make sense?
Yep.
I think this will be one of the make or break factors when you want to reach new kids. That you, in your youth ministry, you have to address the environment and climate.
Let me ask you this question as sort of a follow-up question. What about those who are not truly convinced about? I mean, I'm not a climate change denier. I think that personally that some of those climate, let's say the data point to different things. I've done a curriculum, actually a curriculum for a master's degree program on sustainability. And I think some of the data points to different stuff. So if you're not totally convinced as that CO2 and emissions and all this stuff are the problems, how do you challenge those guys to engage this topic with youth ministry, with youth who see that as priority number one? How do you encourage guys to engage that who might not necessarily agree on the data?
Yeah. If you want to build a relationship, you want to care about what your conversation partner cares about. You want to listen and you want to understand. And if we do that with teenagers, even if they believe crazy, stupid things, we're not telling them that they're stupid.
Right.
We're telling them, oh yeah, you think that? Interesting. We still care more about the person behind that opinion, and we seek to understand. And if it's for us a make or break thing, if we believe or don't believe in climate change, I think that should be secondary in our relationship with teenagers, because we're first and foremost called to serve Jesus, imitate him, and introduce him to our young friends, love them. And
so how do you engage it then? How does Mr. Jugendarbeit, or how would you encourage youth workers to engage that particular issue with teenagers? Do it via social media, interpersonal relationships? How do you engage that, and what are some ways that will at least win the hearing of young people in this particular issue?
Do something. I think that is what they want to do. I mean, they see there is a problem and they want to have a solution to it. And if you do something or offer them an opportunity to speak up and say like, hey guys, what do you want to do to change the world into a better place? Because that's the desire behind it. It's they want to bring about positive change. So why not take that and turn it into something good? By, back in the day, you used to do mission trips. Now you can do environment trips where you also proclaim the gospel while you're cleaning up a lake or, whatever.
Exactly.
That's one aspect of it. What I see, and this is not just youth ministry typical. This is throughout all the social medias. You would have filter bubbles, right? People, the algorithms, because the internet is so full of information, and this information needs to be sorted for you to find what piques your interest. And in order for that to happen, oftentimes people are exposed to more radical thoughts of what they are already interested in. Here's an example.
Right.
Very simple. Yeah. So if I were to look up cameras 1 week, and then next week I would open my Google, it would recommend all these articles about cameras to me.
Right.
So this is Google News as an example. And then teenagers, they're interested in all kinds of things, but algorithms usually show them things they're interested in, and then it's heading a more radical route. Now, knowing that is that many teenagers have not developed their brains fully yet. They're adolescents that they're becoming, right? Their brains are becoming. And because of that, it's easy, and it's also for adults the case, to look for the easiest answer possible, the scapegoat. Right. And that is a trend or something that we're confronted with more and more often. It's radical ideas that are
so that's how extremists get radicalized anyways. They're clicking on the next thing, and they just click, oh, look at that and that and that. I'm interested in that. And so they'll click on this article, this video, this and that, and it just leads them down sort of a rabbit hole of radicalization. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah.
And then once a week you have that meeting with them. By then they're loaded up, they're charged up with information that is one directional, simple answers. And then they're like, did you know that you need to take out the 5G antenna from the mask? Otherwise Bill Gates will shut you down. Like, I didn't know. No. Like, you believe that? There are people that believe that. Like, why do you believe that? Like, how do you call these theories?
Conspiracy theories and stuff.
Theories. That's a huge problem in youth ministry right now. Conspiracy theories, because so their brains are developing. They are looking for easy answers that provide them safety. And what we are challenged to do as youth workers, because we are further along the way, should be further along the way, and should be more loving and more patient to, and here's the word, to live in a constant tension of not giving easy answers, of seeking to understand. And here is what I see as one of the core things that we do as a ministry. We are helping parents to see what is going on in their heart, to track with what has influenced them, and then also to position themselves where they're not giving the opposing answer that would instantly cause a conflict or a fight, but that would open up a way for them to come out of their rabbit hole.
Yeah. So what you've got kids coming to youth ministries all over the world, not just in Germany or wherever, but all over in America and all sorts of different places that do youth ministry, hopefully. And they come in and they're all hopped up on conspiracy theory, this or that, or who knows, whatever, right? And they've got this kind of, maybe they're just ready for one word or one thing to set them off, and they're like, you know, this is the conspiracy, this is going to change the world, blah blah blah, or not, or they're totally jaded to that type of material that they get fed on social media. And whether someone has realized, hey, there's algorithms that are trying to reach your brain to get you to buy this or that or whatever. I think youth can kind of see that too. But Mr. Jugendarbeit is trying to position itself to help youth workers, parents, those dealing with youth on a typical basis, to say, hey, let's just deal with stuff, but let's not just give easy answers like the algorithms are doing. Right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, it's you have to hold out the tension. And this is especially true for the hot iron topics, or the hot topics, which would be LGBTQ, which would be environment, climate, and then especially right now, all the theories, the crazy theories out there.
Conspiracy theories, yeah.
That's the word, conspiracy theories.
Verschwörungstheorien,
yeah.
In German. So let's move on. So I wanted to ask you a question too. So those are exciting trends. Mr. Jugendarbeit is trying to leverage those things. Churches ought to be leveraging those things for the gospel. Hey, let's go do a mission trip here and there. Go to Africa this year instead of building something. Let's clean up a neighborhood, a village, whatever. Let's do something, right? At least stick your foot in the fire, so to speak. And then, so those are exciting things, opportunities. What do you see as troubling trends right now in the youth culture movement? And if you have an answer, or if you have at least a direction maybe that youth pastors, churches, my listeners could at least engage in and say, hey, let's try to answer this challenge here. What do you see as some challenges?
Yeah. I see a few challenges that are, coming up on TikTok, for example. They would be considered troubling. Like eating cereal out of each other's mouths and filming yourselves. Like, there's bacteria in there. And then why would you do that? Right? Or why would you lick an airplane toilet seat as a challenge on TikTok? Like, I don't know. Like, your
just
parents
to see if you can gather as much bacteria as possible in one swallow. I don't know.
So there are, of course, these stupid trends and they are special enough that kids want to copy them, or at least are fascinated by them.
Yeah. Hey, look, that guy licked a toilet seat. Let's try it.
Yeah. And then I think the call out culture, that's troubling, where people are calling other people out for racism, for example, or for sexual abuse. Just recently, somebody said Justin Bieber had sexually abused her. But he could at least prove that he was not present at that time in that state by showing his restaurant receipts. Yeah. But we see this increasing, this hostile calling out culture, which by the way hurts people's future job opportunities. Like, so people are being denied from colleges.
Exactly. So I think it's called the cancel culture in America, or calling out culture, where you just kind of explain it a little bit, where they see someone made maybe a sideways statement that could be construed as racist, and they say, oh, they're racist. And so they call them out on Twitter or some kind of social platform, public figure, maybe not so public, whatever, maybe just a cake owner, a cake store owner who didn't want to make a cake for homosexual wedding or something like that, and they call them out on their platform, and then they cancel them. Cancel culture. They lose a job. They lose their livelihood. Truly, I don't know about the Bieber incident, but yeah, I mean, those things are happening. Do you see an answer for that? Do you see? I mean, there's this tension sort of rising underneath most social media platforms, where kids are, I don't know, there is this angst sort of. Can you you see a hope or a way forward for that?
Taking time off on a regular basis and seeking to love and understand people. And that sounds like so simple, but it's so difficult, because we see Christians nearly, last week, for example, I have been called not a believer. I've been called like that. I'm not promoting. It's like my faith was wurde mir abgesprochen. What's that?
Was really challenged, or
no. Somebody said I'm not a Christian. Like after they had watched one of my videos, I'm like, oh wow, that's new. Or somebody else said, because I'm wearing a certain type of clothing in the comments section, that I should choose whether I want to advertise for Christ or advertise for that brand that I was wearing at the time. I'm like, I didn't even notice I was wearing that hoodie. And so I think people,
they're looking at the details.
How can we fix that?
They're looking at the details and the minutia and seeing how I can critique. It's sort of the take the plank out of your own eye before you can look to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Is that maybe a little bit?
What I see is this is like a leadership thing. For anyone who was in leadership, also before there was social media, people in leadership usually were attacked for what they're doing, or because they were just on a pedestal, and usually whose leaders are being attacked. And now we just see it in a higher frequency, and it happens to all kinds of people that are leading in certain ways or creating content.
Right. So content creators, they can create, they're sending this material out, and people can attack them behind their own and hide behind their own computer screen. Right. I mean, it's anonymous in some way, and they can just reach out and say, hey, your T-shirt, why were you promoting the North Face? I mean, come on. Why don't you just promote Jesus all the time? What's wrong with you, Andy? Right? Yeah. So, this is wild, because there is some sort of anonymity within youth ministry. And I used to call my kids that, like, if I'm I know this kid's a Christian and he's doing stuff or saying stuff behind his phone and hiding sort of a little bit behind the anonymity of it, I would go in to confront him, man. Like, look, bro, can you do that? Are you able, now I had decent, really tighter relationships with some of those kids. But yeah, this is a big challenge. I think the anonymity thing is probably really what it comes down to there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they think they are not seen.
Yeah.
But Google CEO, he said that if you don't want people to know what you're doing online, then
right.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Because we know.
Now, here's the challenge too with TikTok. Like you said, the average watcher and so is like 4 to 11. These kids have actually, they think it's anonymous, probably. Really, honestly, they don't really know. I mean, my daughter, 11 years old, 5th grade, has spent this whole Corona time now on Zoom calls online. She spent 8 hours a day before a computer screen doing her schoolwork. I would have never allowed that had this situation not happened, right? Because she's not able to understand the depth. I don't understand the depth of the internet. You know what I mean? And so how are these 11-year-olds, we need to help them navigate this in some way and help them understand what they're facing, when they post something or when, I mean, I would encourage to keep your kids, if you're a parent, keep your kids off the internet as much as possible. But yeah, it's almost impossible in this day and age.
Yeah, that's the tension we're facing. Like, you know that if our kids spend too much time looking at their screens, they will likely be more depressed. And they don't know why. They don't know why they're feeling sad all of a sudden, and we need to teach them how to, go for walks or, take breaks where they're moving.
Right.
Screen time is a big issue, and depression is connected with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course we know the gospel's the answer to all these challenges, right? Tell us how you see or how that message can meet the needs of the present youth culture, and maybe what vehicles. You talked about the vehicle. It was with Young Life for You. What vehicles do you see most valuable in delivery at the moment?
In delivering the gospel to teenagers?
Yeah.
Like if I were a youth pastor in the States and was looking for the right tools for what I'm facing right now, the cultural shifts, I would probably subscribe to the Access newsletter, which is a ministry from Colorado Springs. They are doing research and they're writing articles that help parents navigate the cultural shifts. So it'll be access.org. That
Cool.
is one of the most valuable tools to understand because it's every week, it's great articles. And to present the gospel right now, I mean, the old principles still apply. If you want to present the gospel, then copy Jesus. He did that over meals. So if and where possible, invite teenagers for a meal or invite yourself to a meal with them. I don't know. You could cook with them. You could take them out to a restaurant, or you could home deliver a meal and say, like, let's set up a Zoom call. We'll talk. And while you're eating your meal at home, and while I'm at my place, and we're just talking, just
a
spending time.
Zoom dinner. That's awesome. That might actually be a pretty cool event, but have your small group and invite everybody to bring their dinner with. Yeah, let's sup together, bro.
And then love is time wasted in a positive way. Like if you spend your time into a relationship by just listening, it's the most difficult thing to sit down with my kids and just listen to them, and just not perform. So I have to hit the brakes sometimes. And it's same with youth ministry, just spending time with kids and just seeing how a conversation evolves, and that also online. Yeah. Cool.
All right. So you wanted to share some about video ministry too. And now Andy's a pro. He's really developed this gift, this ability with video ministry. He actually said before we started the call, he said he wished he had studied video ministry a little bit more than theology, but that's okay. Hey,
yeah, we all make mistakes, right?
Yeah. So, but share with us how you, first of all, how you have leveraged video ministry or video editing, etc., taking camera, all this stuff for youth ministry. Tell us first how you've done it and how you've kind of come along in the vlogging area and stuff like that.
Yeah. Many years ago, one of my team leaders came to me and said like, "Hey, Andy, do you know Casey Neistat?" I'm like, "No, who's that?" "He's a vlogger from New York." I'm like, "Oh, let me see him." And after I watched the third video, I was done. I'm like, I want to do this. I went out, I bought my first camera, an EOS 70D. I bought a Joby tripod that he was using at the time. I bought the Rode video mic. It's still here.
That one there, yeah.
in frame. And I started vlogging. I vlogged about our youth ministry. I found other youth pastors vlogging. And from there, it evolved. I studied on how to become an influencer. Somebody who's really good at teaching that would be Think Media, Sean Cannell. He used to be a campus pastor, and now he's doing this ministry where he's teaching business people and also pastors, whatever, to leverage their message and their ministry online.
I actually watched a lot of Think Media for this Corona crisis, to try to help me figure out how to get better my cameras and my ability to, so he has been really helpful, Think Media. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I follow a lot of YouTubers, vloggers, and realized a few of the learnings along the way is you learn how to, that you don't need 45 minutes for a sermon. If you can do it in 30 seconds on TikTok, the probability of it being heard by more than the 50 or 200 people that would listen to you on a Sunday, you can reach hundreds of thousands with the same message. If you condense it, make it entertaining, it helps you. And then now with the crisis, I realized that social media is social ministry. The digital realm, like everything we do online, is no longer just something we do on the side. It has become life to most of us. What I mean by that is that you can see now churches, especially in the States, hiring youth pastors for digital only positions. So you don't have to be in the same state working for the church, but you do online ministry. You reach out to kids online, you create content for the TikTok account or for the Instagram account. And that is unheard of. It was unheard of before. Like thinking about it, that you could hire somebody, but that's the trend from local ministry to virtual ministry. And I think we will see some kind of hybrid in the future where you have churches or organizations that have some people local and other people virtual. This allows also for a much higher quality. Think about you're a pastor in rural America and you are looking for an assistant. Traditionally, you would hire the first best person that would come to mind that lives in the same town. But now you can go online to one of many services that would provide a virtual assistant to you, and that person would be a pro. You would have much better results, and your ministry would be more effective. So that's some of the shifts we're seeing from local to online or digital.
So
that's how ministry changes. Yeah.
Let me ask you this then. So the average youth guy, how can he leverage right now what he has in his office, in his pocket, on his computer, whatever he has right now for kingdom work through video? What can you give us as a quick advice there?
Oh yeah, the best thing you can buy, let's say your budget is $1,000, the best device you can buy that would solve 99% of your needs would be an iPhone.
Interesting.
iPhone has the best camera. It has an amazing microphone. You can do podcasts. You can go to anchor.fm and upload your podcast with the iPhone. You can film in a wide angle. It's amazing. You can create content for TikTok. You can live stream on Facebook directly from the device, set it up on a tripod. iPhone is definitely the best thing to do. And then when you're ready, you can always upgrade to a bigger camera. But usually people say, the simpler, the better. You need simple and reliable, and something like an iPhone would be in your pocket at all times. So it would be a device that would help you create much easier, because this is the camera that we're using to film TikTok videos. It's an EOS R, a mirrorless camera, and the cam guy, he'll just hold it like this while I would be on the other side and we would film it. something like this is super expensive. Like looking at the lens alone and then the camera body, we're talking $3,000.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing the quality that you get out of it,
but it's expensive.
and it requires knowledge, and it requires a lot of time spent before you can shoot. And then you need to understand color grading. So with an iPhone, you don't need to understand color grading. You don't need to set your levels of audio. You just, hold up the camera and you start
pretty
talking.
Good, yeah.
And if I were a pastor today, this is what I tell my friends: don't put your sermons online. Instead, sit in the office and for 5 minutes, just hold the camera and recap the best thought of your sermon by starting out with the question that people have. For example, what if my marriage is failing? What can I do? So about, hey guys, I want to talk about marriages and why they're failing and how our church could help you. Everybody will be all ears, and the next 5 minutes will have your attention. And that needs to go up on social media, like posts that are how-tos that help solve problems that are short.
Yeah.
And you can do that with an iPhone. No need to buy expensive equipment.
And you can just live stream that right away to somewhere, Facebook. Hey, I want to take a few minutes, 5 minutes here, just share with you the contents of the sermon the other day, and boom. And don't drone on, just do the highlights, right? Yeah, so very good. Man, Andy, this has been a great discussion. Let's kind of come to a conclusion here. We've been talking for quite a bit here already. So give us an encouraging verse, something that's been really meaningful to you in the building of Mr. Jugendarbeit, how you've seen God call you to this ministry and to build this from scratch, basically. Give us some kind of encouraging verse, or some kind of encouragement that you've held on to during this time, to really give the person listening some really good, solid spiritual encouragement. Yeah.
Oh, there are so many. Let me give you a few. Let's start with one. That I think it's in, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. But I tell you, my grace is enough. And if you are weak, or if you feel weak, that is not just okay, but it's also giving me, says God, and gives God room to show up with his strength in your life. So if you feel weak, know that God will use you and he will work through you. And actually, this is how his grace is being shown to other people. So if you feel weak, imperfect, or just not like you can compete at this level, you can be encouraged. God is at work in you. And the weaker you feel, the more you can rely on and experience his grace.
Yeah.
That's one thing that has helped me.
You got that nail on the head. That verse is found, just so listeners can hear, 2 Corinthians 12:9. And the story, just a little bit of background. Paul has had this vision. Jesus showed him really things that should not have been uttered. And he said because of it, God gave him a thorn in the flesh, some kind of physical suffering, some kind of really deep suffering. A lot of people think it was vision impairment, some kind of blindness or something, eyesight problem. And he said in that, though, he asked the Lord to take this thing from him, this struggle, 3 times. He'd take it away from me. And on the 3rd time, the Lord said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in your weakness. So as Andy said, when you're underway and trying to do something for the Lord, trying to start something, trying to be a churchpreneur in some way, God's grace is sufficient for you. His power is made perfect in your weakness. If you think you come to a wall, you're hitting a wall, bam, 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 bam. Know that God's grace is sufficient for you. That word, thanks, Andy, for that. That's great.
And here's another one I think that could fit really well. I used to believe that I want to do great things for God. And with that, I let pride take root in my heart. And God used many situations in my life to bring me down. I mean, living in Romania, being cut off from Western civilization, not having access to so many awesome foods or things, technology is so hard to get by and it's overpriced, many limitations, and also not being able to speak the language, like walking to a store and being humbled that way. Like,
Yeah.
speaking in a third language, right? God used all that to humble me. And what had to change is my thinking, that I'm no longer doing great things for God, but that I'm doing things for a great God, for my great God. And that is a perspective shift that always needs to happen, because of course you're going to feel weak and you're going to feel like a loser or like a sinner, as long as you look at a version that you had of yourself that was proud. But the moment you realize how great God is, and that He deserves worship and He deserves praise, and that your life is about Him, the focus will move away from your problems to the way He sees you. And you are it's much easier to perform and to serve and to produce content, to serve youth, if you do it for a great God and not for your ego or for the numbers. Because youth ministry, I mean, let's face it, this is a 16, 17-month gig on average, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
The relationships that will come out of this will last much longer. And there's one relationship that will last forever, and that is the one with your God. And as long as you don't see Him as great, there's a keystone problem in your relationship.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Andy, thanks for these words. I've spent the majority of my adult life in youth ministry, and sometimes I think, oh, I've got it all together. I know what I'm doing. But when I talk to Andy, there's always some new aspect that I hadn't seen before. And I really appreciate that in you, Andy. You're always researching, you're always learning, you're always moving, not ever sitting still. And always appreciate talking to you because of that, because I'm always learning, always moving. And I feel like you're taking me with. So I appreciate that. So Andy, tell us now, where can we connect with you? Where can we connect? So hopefully there's a lot of Germans listening too. That'd be great. So we can empower these guys and girls in youth ministry. Where can we connect with you? Can we get your subscription right on the website? Tell us all that information.
Yep. So if you go to mrjugendarbeit.com, you will find it, the website, and you can subscribe right away. We have a Facebook page. It's also at Mr. Jugendarbeit. We have a Facebook group, a community for youth workers. We have about 700 German-speaking youth workers in there, experts in youth ministry who are encouraging one another, who are passing on ideas, who are positive, and who are asking questions. So if you feel like you have something to contribute, go to that community, contribute. If you feel like you need answers to questions that are burning on your heart right now, go to that community. It's all Mr. Jugendarbeit. Same on YouTube, at Mr. Jugendarbeit. Same on TikTok, at Mr. Jugendarbeit. Same on Instagram, at Mr. Jugendarbeit. Okay, get the idea.
You get the branding. I love it. Keep the branding consistent.
Yeah. I hope we never have to change.
Yeah. It's all going to stay. Hopefully it's staying. Yeah. All right. So is that it? Is that all the things you wanted to give us for connecting? That's it?
Yep. I think go to the website, mrjugendarbeit.com. Check out the blog posts. We have great authors. We're actually a team, and I failed to say that. We have 15 people working on content every week, and those are amazing youth pastors. For example, if German-speaking youth pastors are in need of coaching or counseling, they can just contact our customer support on the website. They're youth pastors who are currently working in youth ministry, and they have been set free by their organizations or their churches to spend a few hours each week serving other youth pastors.
So that's a huge help right there. That by itself for German youth workers is just 15 people at your access who can help you, can coach you. Hey, I'm running into a wall here. I need some help. That by itself is pretty solid. So tell me now, no youth pastor, a parent hears this, they say, man, this sounds like a great thing. How can they support you? Maybe financially? They're not necessarily connected to youth ministry. They can't sign up for the $9.99 thing. It doesn't really help them personally, but they believe in your vision. They believe in what you're doing. Tell them how they can support you.
Yeah. So we are, as a family, we're working with the Swiss Mission Fellowship, and we raise funds through that. And if you want to support us financially for the adoption or for the ministry, you can donate to the Swiss Mission Fellowship in Switzerland, and to the German Mission Fellowship, the DMG in Germany. If just write us a message over the website. We'll provide you with the right information. We'll create also a donate button on the website eventually. But until then, you can also just subscribe to the All Access Pass without downloading anything. And that will also be considered support for our team to create new resources.
Sure. So I'll provide all those links in the description here in our podcast and on the video. So Andy, man, many thanks for coming on and for sharing your wisdom, sharing your entrepreneurial spirit for the church, for youth ministry. It was a blessing. I hope it blessed you, the reader, too. Thanks for listening to CHURCHepreneurs podcast. You can find out more information at my website about CHURCHepreneurs at richardpmoore.net. I also blog at richardpmoore.blogspot.com. You're welcome to follow me on Twitter if you do that. I know, Andy, I'm a little old school. I still tweet. But my Twitter handle is at richardpmoore23. You can also email us if you want to reach out on that way. You can email us at churchepreneurs@gmail.com. That's CHURCHepreneurs@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any ideas for a podcast or any comments or questions, please reach out on one of those platforms. God bless you. Until next time, take care.
Thank you, Richard.